Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Now, with that said, let's go ahead and switch gears. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit of college hoops, okay? So again, we don't talk much college football this time of year. Nico obviously was a topic that we had to discuss. But now what we got to do, we got to go ahead and talk a little bit of college hoops because it is still portal season. It is still roster building season. I call it chisme season. That means gossip in Spanish. There's a lot of gossip. What's true? What's not? What's this? What's that? So we're going to go ahead and do a big picture portal conversation in just a minute. But where we have to start with the portal conversation is the man who had the monster weekend over the course of the last couple of days, and he might not be done yet. I'm talking Mark Pope, head coach of Kentucky. Okay, so yes, so first of all, I'm going to do the Eminem thing. You know, Eminem, 8 Mile. Remember, he does the whole rap where he basically makes fun of himself so his opponent can't make fun of him. So everybody's going to come in the chat. Oh, Torres, you were criticizing Mark Pope 3, 4, 5 weeks ago. I did a segment saying Mark Pope keeps missing on big recruits. How worried should Kentucky fans be? But in that moment, it felt like it was concerning. Then Mark Pope got Mo Diabate. He got Jalen Lowe. He got Jaden Quaintance. And then he had a weekend for the ages. So let's go ahead and dive in. The first big piece of news, by the way, I'll just apologize in advance. I'm going to butcher this name. But Saturday, I was actually with the Collie Puffs boys. I was with Brian and Joey from Collie Puffs. We were at an event. And I bring it up because I turn on my phone. I see the news that Andrija Jelavic, a 6'11" forward from Croatia who played for Mega BMAX in Serbia, has committed to the Kentucky Wildcats, one of the top international prospects in all of the world, is headed to Lexington. And then, oh, by the way, the bigger news that came just moments later, Brandon Garrison, former McDonald's All-American, began his career at Oklahoma State, played at Kentucky this past year. Brandon Garrison commits to returning for a junior season, a second year with the Kentucky Wildcats. So, oh, by the way, last I signed on, Lamar Wilkerson, guard from Sam Houston State, is at Keeneland Racetrack, the horse races, with Mark Pope. We'll see if some news breaks by the end of this show. By the way, if you're watching on late Sunday, early Monday, maybe a Lamar Wilkerson commitment happens. If it does, don't be mad we didn't cover it right now. We're doing this in real time at 7:34 Eastern time. So let's go ahead and dive into a busy weekend for Mark Pope. First of all, I kind of want to work backwards. I want to start with Brandon Garrison, okay? Because I think if you just look at Brandon Garrison's stats, he averaged, 6 points and 4 rebounds per game. And if you're not a Kentucky fan, you're going to sit there and say, oh, who cares? It's not a big deal. Who is this guy? Why is a guy like Torres even talking about it on this show? This is a big deal, okay? First of all, as I said, Brandon Garrison, 6'11", really closer to 7 feet, super athletic. And I think the thing that stood out for me was a great role player for the Kentucky Wildcats this past season. Yes, he only averaged 6.5 points per game. But if you actually watch the games, there were certain games where he absolutely positively carried the Kentucky Wildcats. How about the game against Gonzaga? 10.9 rebounds. Kentucky wins in overtime in Seattle. He had 11 and 6 against Bama. Tough loss with 5 assists. That was the game at Rupp that could have gone either way. 13 points and 5 boards against Georgia. 15 points and 4 boards against LSU late in the year. 12 points and 4 boards in a win against Oklahoma. So he's not a finished product, but he was never supposed to be a finished product. He came last year to back up Amari Williams. He was one of the best backup big men in the country. And now he's coming back for another year. And why this is important is a couple things. One, besides the fact that he's really good, I think there was real thought that he wasn't going to come back. And, this is always the fine line in college basketball this time of year when you hit the portal. You have an opportunity sometimes to take good players, but what does it mean for guys on the roster? And so I bring it up because obviously last week, Mark Pope adds Jaden Quaintance, superstar, dynamic power forward / center from Arizona State, former McDonald's All-American, former 5-star, youngest player in college basketball this past year, all Big 12 freshman team, previously had been committed to Kentucky. And in that moment, you want to celebrate it. But then you start to hear rumors of, well, how does that impact Brandon Garrison? Does he feel like he's not going to get a starting spot? Does that mean that he may decide to enter the portal as well? And I think there were a couple days of very anxious times if you're a Kentucky Wildcats fan. And I think even if you're a Kentucky Wildcats coach or somebody in that building, you just don't know. And so to get Brandon Garrison back, that is huge. Because first off, let's remember this about Jaden Quaintance. And I love Jaden Quaintance. I think he's one of the most I think he's going to be like phenomenal next year. But he is coming off ACL surgery. And we do have no idea if he'll actually be ready for the start of the season. Now, I've been told that he will be. I've been told that he should be back on the court by mid to late August. He should be able to ramp up, should be doing 5-on-5 in the preseason. But you just never know with major knee surgeries. And even if he's back, it's hard to imagine he's going to be 100% on night one. Remember, first week of the season, you play Michigan State in the Champions Classic. You got Gonzaga and Nashville. You got Louisville in the out-of-conference. I mean, the schedule is thankless. And so to now you don't have to rush back Jaden Quaintance. Now you don't have to worry about what if he isn't ready to go 100% on the opening night. And then to take it a step further, it's even better. What happens when he does come back? What if he is 100%? What if he is capable on opening night of playing? Now you have one of the most ferocious backcourts or front courts in all of college basketball. I think you can play those two together. I know from the Quaintance camp, I don't think that they think of Jaden as just a true 5-man, of just he's going to park his butt in the paint and, going to rebound and give energy. No. He wants to be able to do more on the perimeter. He wants to be able to shoot more. He wants to play with another big guy. He doesn't always want to guard an opposing team's 5. And so now you can play both of them together. You can play both of them separate. You're basically too deep with McDonald's All-Americans at the 5 spot, but again, you can also play them together. Now, really quickly from Jelavic perspective, Andrija Jelavic, listen, I'd be lying if I said I knew a ton about him, but what I will say is a couple things. Mega BMAX is one of the best, they are one of the best European teams in Europe, especially in the developmental game. I remember, Kentucky fans, you may remember this. Remember about 4 or 5 years ago, you guys played in the Bahamas. You played Mega BMAX. And they were a team that had 3, 4, 5 guys that were on the trajectory to be drafted. And so with Jelavic, I can't say I'm not an NBA scout, but is he a player that I believe is capable of being in the NBA? Yeah, he is. Pretty athletic for a guy his size, can shoot the crap out of the ball. And I think most importantly, what stands out to me, I think he kind of brings something that nobody else in your front court next year has. You have Brandon Garrison. I love Brandon Garrison. I just raved about Brandon Garrison. But this past season, Brandon Garrison was a 30% three-point shooter. Jaden Quaintance, not a very good three-point shooter at this time in his career. Mo Diabate is not a great three-point shooter. And so this kid is 6'11", probably going to play the 4 mostly for you, and he can stretch the floor. He's not a great three-point shooter, but he's a very good three-point shooter. Looks like a player that could project to an NBA guy. And you're talking about this guy is probably, when Jaden Quaintance is healthy, your 4th big man behind Diabate, behind Brandon Garrison, behind Jaden Quaintance, and now you have this guy? That is ferocious, and that is monstrous, okay? And what I would say as we start to wrap on this segment, a couple things stand out. First off, I'm going to work under the assumption that Otega Oweh does eventually come back, okay? I know nothing's official yet. I assume it will come at some point, but I only bring it up to very simply say that if Otega Oweh comes back, this team has just about everything, okay? First of all, we talked about it when Jaden Quaintance committed. I love the athleticism and the physicality of this front court. By the way, I didn't even mention Malachi Moreno, a McDonald's All-American who's committed and playing in the front court. But I bring it up because you look at this front court, and I go back to when Jaden Quaintance committed, and we talked about it. The best thing you can have as a fan is not only a good coach, but a coach that is aware. What do I mean by that? I think Mark Pope learned a very valuable lesson in year 1 in the SEC. I think it was great to have all that shooting, all that spacing, all that this, and our offense is so fun. But there were times where they just weren't athletic enough. They just weren't tough enough. They just weren't physical enough. They just got bullied. They got bullied by Auburn at Rupp Arena. They got bullied 3 separate times by Alabama with Cliff Omiori, with Grant Nelson, with all the big guys that they had in that front court. They got bullied in the Sweet 16 by Tennessee, where you could just see about 5 minutes in that game, you're like, oh, they don't have the athleticism to keep up. And so it's clear to me that Mark Pope has kind of prioritized, hey, we're going to give up a little bit on the skill side to make sure that we're athletic enough and we're tough enough. That's what Jaden Quaintance brings. That's what Diabate brings. I think Jalen Lowe brings that at the point guard spot. But then they now add more of that with Brandon Garrison. When Brandon Garrison, say what you want about, he wasn't scared when he stepped in the SEC. He was one of the few guys that athletically could handle things in the SEC. And so I love that. I love the skill that Jelavic brings. And I look at this team, and it's basically complete. Kentucky fans, correct me if I'm wrong. I know you need probably one more guard, which brings us to Lamar Wilkerson. We'll get to that in a minute. You need one more guard. Front court or the back court, excuse me. You do have Jalen Lowe. We're assuming Otega Owe is back. Jasper Johnson, who of course is 5-star player, whatever. But you did lose Kirk Risa. You did lose a Caden Lewis as a player who was committed, who decommitted last week. And so I think you need one more guard. Now, respectfully, I think in the moment we saw that Travis Perry, if need be, can be an SEC guard. Now, I don't think he's a guy you want to rely on for 28, 29 minutes, but at the same time, he is a serviceable guy. But it feels like you're one piece away from, I think Kentucky's already a top 10 team, in my opinion. The question is, can you get that last piece, that bucket getter, that guy that fills the ball in the basket? And if you can, what does it mean for next season? Obviously, the guy that everybody is pursuing right now, Lamar Wilkerson. For people who were not paying attention on Sunday, Lamar Wilkerson actually took a visit to Indiana earlier in the weekend. I think Indiana was probably perceived as the favorite coming in. Then goes to Kentucky on Sunday. Mark Pope, you little devil, you little devil, Mark Pope, takes him to Keeneland, the racetrack. I saw him, with the horses, and they're bringing the horse to Victory Circle or Victory Lane. I know Victory Lane's more of a NASCAR thing, whatever. What I'm trying to make, Lamar Wilkerson looked like he was having the time of his life. Now, I don't expect Lamar Wilkerson. We'll talk a little bit about him more in the portal segment to come. I don't expect Lamar Wilkerson to necessarily commit prior to taking all his visits. Indiana, Kentucky, he still has Ole Miss and Auburn. But to me, you land Lamar Wilkerson, we're talking about a top 5 team going into next year. I love the front court. I love the athleticism. I love the tough. Listen, I look at rosters all day, every day this time of year. There's not that many teams that have the toughness and athleticism in the front court of Brandon Garrison, Jaden Quaintance, Mo Diabate, on and on. And then, of course, you have the toughness and athleticism in the backcourt of Jalen Lowe and Otega Owe as well. So 1, got to get back Otega Owe. 2, I do think you're probably looking at one more guy that you probably need in the backcourt, but Mark Pope is cooking. Yes, I'm the guy that 8-10 days ago said, why does Mark Pope keep missing on guys? But he is cooking with gasoline. I don't know. I said it wrong the other day and somebody got mad at me, but Mark Pope is freaking cooking right now. Okay. And we'll see if he can close with Lamar Wilkerson.